Today, we're going to talk about a bill that doesn't have a bill number yet. Now, before you go get your pitchforks and turn the comment section into a dumpster fire about how it will never pass, hold up a minute. The bill we're going to talk about is guaranteed to be signed by President Biden and become law. The question is, can we use this bill to defund the ATF? Hi, I'm Ben, and you're watching the Minuteman Moment. Okay, simple answer, maybe. But it's entirely possible, and GOA is already fighting behind the scenes to defund the ATF on Capitol Hill. But if we want to be successful, we need every keyboard warrior out there to help out and keep up the pressure on their elected representatives. I'm sure if you've watched any of the mainstream media this past year, you've been hearing about how Republicans in the House and Democrats have been fighting over the budget and appropriations. Eventually, this is going to be turned into what's called the Commerce, Justice, and Science Bill, which will fund the ATF. Or it could turn into a Consolidated Appropriations Act. Or one of those trillion-dollar omnibus bills, which funds every wasteful spending program the federal government has all at once. Wait. Don't click off just yet, because today I'm going to be breaking down the whole process and why it matters to you and your gun rights. When Congress passes a budget, they decide how much money is going to be spent in the future. We know that Congress doesn't care about budgets, and they'll just raise their credit limit all the time. So we're not focusing on that. On the other hand, Congress's annual appropriations bill decide how that money is being spent. In both the Senate and the House, there are 12 different subcommittees for each category of spending, like Commerce, Justice, and Science. That bill is about a third of the funding breakdown for the Department of Justice and sub-agencies like ATF and FBI. But there are 11 other ones that we have to monitor for gun control, like Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development, which, you guessed it, deals with housing and all things transportation, like FAA and TSA. You think the anti-gunners never tried to make it worse for gun owners to fly with their firearms? Don't worry, we're watching. But here's the quiet part out loud. All 24 of these House and Senate committees are supposed to pass an annual bill. But Congressmen is made up of people who don't always agree on everything. So more often than not, they'll put all of these bills into a single one, the Omnibus, which is Latin for every or all. Now, because appropriations are what actually fund the government, if this Omnibus doesn't get passed fast enough, then the governments get shut down and a lot of these programs stop operating because they don't have the funding. Because Congress wants to avoid that, the moderates are more than happy to compromise and let anti-gun provisions get added in and pass with the final bill, because it's a must-pass piece of legislation. Think of it as a band-aid to fix a much bigger problem. But unlike a band-aid, the Omnibus doesn't prevent terrible stuff from getting in. So the swamp usually rams that through Congress around Christmas time, and all the weak, spineless politicians vote for it because they want to go home for the holidays. But this year, we've seen that the Freedom Caucus isn't going to stand up for business as usual. So hopefully, standing up to the system also means pushing back on all the gun control they usually throw in with this garbage. One trick here is that they want to make it so no one can realistically read the whole thing. But there's a reason the swamp doesn't like GOA. If you recall last year's Omnibus passage, the whole federal affairs team, myself included, spent 12 hours reviewing a massive Omnibus package that was over 4,000 pages long. In that time, we found an ATF budget increase of over $200 million, Department of Education pushing mandatory safe storage, VA funding for gun storage maps, and orchid healing circles for gun violence victims. Now, part of my job as a federal lobbyist is making sure that these little abuses don't sneak past unnoticed and unchallenged. That's why we buckle down and get it done to bring these issues to you guys so we can put the pressure on Congress together. If you don't remember, all that garbage passed because a bunch of Republicans squished out and gave Nancy Pelosi one last gift as the Speaker of the House. That's why we worked with Representative Boebert to introduce the Shall Not Be Infringed Act to repeal it all. But enough about the past, let's talk about the future. Specifically, how GOA is going to use this process to defund the ATF's pistol brace rule. In the past, we've been focused on defense and on keeping the swamp at bay from adding stuff in and keeping it clean. But this year, it's time to go on the offense. Gun owners need to demand that Congress defund the ATF. So pause the video and call the number below and tell your representative how you feel about giving ATF another dime to enforce the new Biden pistol ban, or the illegal gun registry, or any of its infringements at all. We'll be working with the staff on the other end of that phone call. Now let me tell you, this year the House of Representatives, really all of Washington, is going to have to listen to you. If you remember, we had a big win in the House when HJ Res 44 passed with bipartisan support. Now, it didn't pass the Senate, but it failed on a party line vote. That House vote proved that the Biden pistol ban doesn't have the votes to pass Congress. Well, neither does the Biden pistol ban funding. Thanks to the lead sponsor of HJ Res 44, Representative Andrew Clyde, gun owners will be well represented during the swampiest battle we can fight. Clyde has proved that he is unafraid to stand up to Biden's gun control or to stand up to the swamp when they get in the way of the Second Amendment. This is exactly why we go office to office, representative to representative, to defend your rights. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more updates on what GOA is doing to protect the Second Amendment.